Hey guys, Paul here. So today I've got a bit of a Yu-Gi-Oh conundrum, and it's a conundrum that I actually think a lot of different players go through over the years with this game. It's just finally happening to me. And that is, what do you do when your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh deck gets new support and becomes a meta deck? That's what I wanted to talk about today because obviously for me it's happening right now with Vanquish Soul, but this has happened plenty of times in the past. Yu-Gi-Oh has a wide array of archetypes, and people fall in love with just different ones for many different reasons. Maybe it's an anime deck that you really liked. Maybe it's kind of an old school thing that you played years and years ago and you're excited to finally maybe see it get support. Maybe it's just something from like a deck builder set that people sort of kind of forgot about and neglected and it finally got its support. Either way, everything in Yu-Gi-Oh eventually gets new cards. Sometimes the new cards make it moderately playable, like a little bit more modernized, but every now and again you'll get like a huge boost to a deck that will just like vault it from kind of nowhereville, totally unknown thing to suddenly being like, oh my god, everybody's playing this, it's the best deck. I think the biggest example historically that comes to mind for me would probably be something like maybe Spiral back in 2017, if anybody remembers that. It was a TCG exclusive archetype, not very impressive at all. Some people fiddle around with it for fun, but it just couldn't really do much. And then it suddenly got that card Spiral Double Helix, and now all of a sudden everything just blew up for that deck. All of the obscure things that it could do that just like weren't very consistent or kind of frail now suddenly were like very easy to do and very powerful, and it had link monsters and all this other stuff. And so I imagine that if you were a Spiral fan and you'd been kind of tinkering with the deck on and off for a long time, hoping that it would maybe get a little bit better, you might have mixed feelings about the idea that it suddenly is the de facto best deck in the game. Because that comes with some caveats, right? Like, everybody wants their favorite thing to get support, but if it's suddenly like the deck everyone's playing, then that means one, suddenly the cards get a lot more expensive. This isn't usually a big deal if you were a fan of the deck because like you probably already had the deck built, of course. But like for me with Vanquish Soul, for instance, I had a Vanquish Soul deck forever, right? I've been playing that deck since it came out in Wild Survivors in 2023. And, I've basically cut my teeth on it in Master Duel for a long, long time. Favorite deck. I was trying to max out the rarity of the Vanquish Soul deck by getting the collector's rare copies of all the cards from Wild Survivors. They were pretty pricey. Like, it was definitely an expensive endeavor, and I never really ended up finishing it. Like, I got 2 collector's rare Rosins. I still needed to get more Heavy Borgers and Mad Loves and Stake Your Souls, and the prices on them were really high. So I didn't really get all of that. I got maybe halfway done with that. And it was expensive at the time, like I said, but now that Holly Sue is out and all the other cool stuff and people are playing Vanquish Soul K9, it's the most popular thing ever, now finishing that collector's rare side of the deck has become extremely expensive. I'm still going to try to do it, but it's pretty hard. Like, I'm just having to kind of like slowly take my time and like find collector's rare copies of the cards, try to buy them for as reasonable of a price as I can get them, and that's sort of rough. The second thing, though, is that suddenly people will judge you. They will judge sort of the way that maybe you play the deck. Like, I've played Vanquish Soul for a long time, and I know a lot of small intricacies, and I take a lot of pride in that. But sometimes people will question, like, my build decisions because there's sort of a cookie cutter mainstream version of the deck that everybody's using, and I'm not playing the deck that way. And so because I'm not, people are like, "What? Why are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Why aren't you using K9s in the deck?" I'm not using K9s, for instance, in my Vanquish Soul deck, partly because I can't afford them right now, but also because I don't really think that they're absolutely necessary. And I'm a Vanquish Soul purist, and I believe that I can put up results without it. And I've been sort of proving that lately. The last few regionals I've been to, so that's been nice. But that's besides the point. But also, like, you will see people maybe misplay with your favorite deck. And to be fair, like, everybody misplays. People have to learn the deck somehow, so whatever. But it is a blessing and a curse because it's like people will tell you like you should be running it this way, you should be running it that way. And it's like, bro, like I grew up with this deck, right? Like I know this stuff. And also you'll see people kind of miss small nuances of the deck. Like I've been in a couple of mirror matches with people where I've been using like my Vanquish Soul deck against maybe a Vanquish Soul K9 deck, and people like just you can tell that they've picked it up in just the last few weeks because they haven't fully read cards and they're sort of missing the way that certain effects resolve or little like chain things that you can do or stipulations or continuous effects or all these things. And on the bright side, I can exploit that stuff sometimes and, get some easy wins that way because they maybe don't recognize something or see it for what it is. But it is annoying when, like it's like, like when people are like, you're like a nerd and you like anime or comic books or whatever, and now it's popular, and so now you kind of almost feel like you want to gatekeep. It's, I guess, akin to maybe what that feeling must be like. Another thing too, though, is that it means that you now have to worry about your deck getting hit on the ban list, and that I think is probably the most like terrifying thing. Is like when your deck becomes really good, is like when you have to worry, man. Like everyone's playing Vanquish Soul Canine. Like I saw at YCS Vancouver, it was the most played deck in the top 32. It's like, okay, so does that mean are they gonna like semi-limit Rosin? Are they gonna hit Mad Love or Holly Sue or Borger or something? Like I've heard all these people saying actually those things. Like some people have actually said like they think that someone was saying like Borger should get limited because it burns too much, or someone said that they should just hit Rosin because like it's a good starter, and they've been hitting starters and ban lists lately. And I'm just like, man, don't hit my favorite deck. That sucks. I don't want that. So that is a very valid concern. The way I see it is like because of Yu-Gi-Oh! Power creep, literally 6 months from now, Vanquish Soul won't even be relevant whether they hit a card in it or not, because it's like power creep moves fast in this game. They will just release new stuff that's a wee bit better, maybe some powerful staple that kind of counters the general game plan. If you played Yu-Gi-Oh long enough, this stuff happens. So I'm hoping that they don't hit the deck because I really like it. Some other decks I think that this has happened with besides just Spirals, maybe even like Blue Eyes might be a good example. Like people love Blue Eyes to death, but when they finally got a Blue Eyes structure deck, it does mean that like now a lot of people are playing Blue Eyes, and how you feel about that might vary some. Some people are pretty optimistic about this. Like, I guess I'm sounding bitter, but I don't mind more people playing Vanquish Soul and more people appreciating Vanquish Soul. Like, that's kind of nice to me. So maybe I maybe sounded too negative there. Like I don't hate it, but it's just something to think about. Like everybody playing Blue Eyes. Now, thankfully, Blue Eyes came in a structure deck, so getting those cards wasn't expensive or anything. But it would suck if you liked a deck and it got new support, but the new support was like all secret, not all secret rare, but like had a secret rare and like ultras and stuff, and so the price tag for it was really high. I don't think I'd like that very much. So that's maybe something to think about. And I feel like there's something else I wanted to say. I guess, which is also like, this is a related issue that comes up sometimes, is when you are playing a weaker, lower tier strategy and one of its cards gets abused heavily by a more mainstream, more powerful deck. Either it gets turned into an engine of some kind or whatever, and now that card ends up on the ban list because better decks were abusing your card. So, for instance, like, imagine Red Eyes Fusion. There was a period of time where people thought Red Eyes Fusion was going to get limited. It didn't end up getting limited or banned or anything like that. They just hit Vert Anaconda. But man, imagine if you're a Red Eyes player and Red Eyes Fusion got like hit like that, or like even DPE when that came out, and like you're like a Destiny Hero player and DPE comes out and everybody's checking it in all their decks, and now you're like, they're going to hit this card. Like I didn't even get to use my new support card for the deck I've played for years. Another one is like Speedroid. I think of Speedroid just because like I know a lot of people, Terror Top got hit, and it's been off the ban list for a long time now, so not a huge deal, but just another one of those things. I'm sure there are plenty of other examples that you guys can tell me about. So, yeah, basically that's what I wanted to yap about today is, how do you feel when your favorite deck finally gets support, but it becomes a meta deck? Do you find yourself happy with that? Do you find yourself sad, mad, angry, jealous, gatekeeping, or what? For me personally, I will say I have enjoyed the ability to flex my Vanquish Soul knowledge and experience, and hopefully try to pull in some results with that. So I'm kind of trying to use it as a motivation. But I thought that it would just be something fun to talk about and hear other people's opinions on. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down below in the comments, and I'll see you all in the next one. Pass turn.